I'm just checking to see if you're ready for the interview. We're due to see you now in the next couple of minutes with Sean.
Yep, totally ready.
Joey Carbstrong is a former gang member and when a younger man in Australia spent time in prison and dealt with his addiction to drugs and alcohol, but now he's a vegan and spends most of his time arguing for a vegan lifestyle. Not only does he think meat is murder, he also thinks artificial insemination is rape. Joey, good afternoon.
I sympathise with farmers, I really do. But there's a victim involved in this that no one's talking about and no one really cares about. And they're the pigs, the cows, the lambs, and the chickens that are getting strung up by their hoof and they're getting their feathers ripped off of their backs and they're getting slashed across the throat. No one seems to talk about this. I don't think we live in a society that even considers animals victims. Artificial insemination is a medical term for something that is a medical procedure where a human being can give consent for that. Animals don't tell you that it's okay to shove your hand inside of their anus, to stick a tube full of bull semen into their vagina, to impregnate them and to steal their children away from them. Where is the consent there? I just don't see why people want to play word games and think that a word is more offensive than violating animals' private parts. It's a bestiality type process. I mean, people don't think that's weird, but they point the finger saying, oh, you shouldn't call it rape. You eat animal flesh,
I do.
Okay, what is your justification for condemning animals to a slaughterhouse and you want to talk about pets? You know animals are being lowered down into gas chambers right in their last moments so we can eat their bodies. I mean, you know that we can be healthy on plants.
How do you know they don't give their consent? Or how do you know more to the point that a cow is capable of giving consent?
They are not capable of giving consent. They are innocent beings. Just like a small child isn't capable of giving consent, that's why it's against the law to have sex with a small child because they cannot give consent. Now, in the same way, an animal is innocent, vulnerable. They cannot give consent. Now, I don't know if you're being serious with me, Sean, when you say, how do I know animals aren't giving consent? They hold them down in a rack. The cows, they hold them down in a rack so they don't move.
What would farmers do in your vision of a perfect world, Joey? Would they completely switch away from? Obviously, they would switch away from breeding animals for consumption. What would they grow instead?
In a world where they don't exploit animals for their bodies and send them to slaughterhouses, they'd be farming plants that we can eat. I like how you sideswiped my question. Because if they do it in Yulin, China, and everyone points the finger over there when there's blood on their own hands. Domestication of farmed animals is from human beings. Selectively breeding, we are moral agents. You're a human being. What happens in nature, happens in nature. Now, we cannot justify our actions because of what's happening in nature. You want to point to nature and say, oh, animals rape other animals eat other animals, therefore it's okay to rape each other and kill each other. That's a logical fallacy. That's an appeal to nature fallacy. It's one of the most basic logical fallacies, actually. You can't point to what animals are doing and say it's okay for us to act in that way, because where's the civilized society? We're human beings, remember? We're supposed to have morals and ethics that sort of hold together the foundation of our society. Now, without them, if you want to point to the jungle and say, look what's happening in the jungle, I'm allowed to go and kill whoever I want, because lions though. I mean, this is just a logical fallacy, easy to point out. But I'd like to think in your mind, Sean, you're a civilized man, okay? And you would agree with me that causing unnecessary harm to innocent animals is immoral when we don't need you to survive. Now, when you point to nature and say, oh, animals are doing this, acting in this certain way, therefore it justifies our actions, that would justify a lot of actions, okay? That would justify a lot of actions. That's why it creates massive contradictions and we can't use that logic.
Humans have always eaten animals. So
slavery was around for 400 years. Just because something traditionally happens does not make it moral. You cannot appeal to history, you cannot appeal to tradition, because humans have been killing each other for thousands of years too. That does not make it moral and mean we should continue.
No, what I'm saying to you is that human beings, as part of nature, have, for hundreds of thousands of years, eaten animals.
It's irrelevant to the moral fabric of society today, okay? Now, you look at a slaughterhouse, you show your children a slaughterhouse, and you tell me if they naturally are drawn to eat those animals. If you want to talk about what's natural, go stab an animal that's in the throat and tell me if it gives you a natural feeling of hunger, okay? You are not a natural killer, okay? You're a compassionate man. Stabbing animals for burgers is not part of human nature. We are compassionate beings. Just because we force ourselves to kill innocent beings and go against our natural compassionate nature does not make it moral at all. Face the slaughterhouse, face these animals in a slaughterhouse, and tell me if it gives you a natural feeling of hunger. Because a true carnivore, a lion, will see a limping, suffering animal and see food. You would try to help the animal.
Describe a perfect world, Joey.
Both humans and animals are living in peace, in liberty, without being harmed, used or exploited for their bodies. That would be an ideal world for me.
Joey, thanks very much for talking to us.
Thanks, Sean. Take care, my friend.